Well, I mean, we weren't able to adjust. I mean, they lead all of power conferences in points in the paint. I think you can get paralyzed by the three. I mean, we've seen other teams get paralyzed by our three-point shooting. Then you live at the rim. So we were trying to, which we did a good job of. I mean, they had 16 points at the paint, and they averaged 40. So, you know, Steers got going where we went under some screens early. Now, granted, they were like 35-foot bombs, but you got to adjust. So you have to give him credit first of all. And then, you know, we were trying to show a little bit too much of a crowd probably, and they made us pay. And then they got going. I mean, you know, we could have done a lot of things better. There's no question, but you know, we have to give Nate and their staff and their players credit. I mean, that was incredible performance by them, and we didn't do enough to stop it.
Was there anything defensively that Alabama did that maybe caught you guys off guard heading into the matchup?
No, not really. I mean, we knew what they were going to do. I mean, we took the bait probably too much than we would like to, but we scored 88 points. I mean, it wasn't really our offense that was the problem.
What do you see as what was accomplished this year one? I know it's probably tough to think in the moment, but the foundational season for your program, what was accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak out of both sides of my mouth and talk about how I'm not a big expectation guy, because I've said that to you guys before. However, that being said, you know, I hadn't said this all year to our players, but literally hadn't mentioned it all year, but I told them in there, just proud of them. I mean, this is a team that was picked 9th in the Big 12. We ended up being one of the last 16 teams in the entire country standing. So just proud of kind of that statement from this group of guys and, you know, my staff. And, you know, I've been pretty clear about we're trying to establish something that's, you know, big time at BYU. And so building on the very successful program they've had for many years, you know, this was a step in the right direction as far as trying to continue to elevate it. And so for that, you know, I'm proud of our players and our staff.
What have the seniors, Trevin, Trey, Foose, all those guys meant to in their first year as head coach?
Man, they meant the world, man. Those guys didn't have to come back to BYU. They chose to. You know, obviously getting Mawut to come in, he was a huge part of our success. But, you know, just indebted forever to those guys. You know, Trev especially, you know, his leadership I thought was invaluable. You know, Foose just being a quiet example all year long. And then Trey, man, I think that's one of the coolest stories I've personally ever seen in terms of a guy who's kind of an afterthought for 3 years or whatever, and 3.5, honestly, then comes out and just did so much that we just had to play him, and he ended up helping us quite a bit. So really happy to have coached that group. And you know, I said it to the guys in there. I mean, I've been doing it. I think this was my 21st year in coaching, and this was one of the funnest years I've ever had because of the guys in that locker room.
Where do you want the program to go the most from this right now to next November to get here again and maybe advance further?
Yeah, I mean, we want to establish ourselves as a team that's year after year making runs like this and going even farther. I mean, we want to be the last team standing in this tournament, and you know, it's really hard to do, obviously, but that's our goal. And I think in year one, I think we've got a pretty good foundation of our identity of how we want to play, and now it's on me and our coaches to continue to recruit to that identity and try to bring in players that can help us continue to push this thing to a level that BYU's never seen before.
Jaeger didn't rule out the possibility of running it back. I mean, he's going to have time to think about it, but how much are you going to try to get him to come back and maybe pitch him on that, or let him go to the NBA, or how are you approaching that?
Yeah, I mean, I won't quote unquote pitch anything. I think those are really calculated decisions. You know, he's got a great support team in his corner, and so it's that stuff's very personal. You know, it's also very situational. You know, I'll try to lend some advice to him best I can. You know, give him my NBA connections and so forth. Try to make sure he understands how they view him, where they view him at, and so forth. I mean, you know, obviously we would clearly welcome him back. He's an unbelievable kid, cares so much, you know, about this program, about this university. I mean, God loves BYU, man. He told me one time, he said, "Coach, I could play here for the next 10 years." I was like, "Just give me 4." But that just kind of speaks to, you know, how much he's really embraced the community, and whether he goes to the NBA or comes back, whatever, I mean, I will be rooting for that kid, you know, forever.
You mentioned your relationship with Coach Stokes. Okay.
You can hit me with it. Go ahead. I got one more.
What was said to in that line? I think you had a little bit of a longer handshake with him and some of the staff.
Yeah, no, Nate's a great guy, man. I really respect what he's built at Alabama. When he got that job, you know, he's taken it to levels that they've never been to before, which is what I'm trying to do here. So for that, I respect him. But I just told him, man, like, go win the whole thing. You know, he was like, man, the way we shot it tonight, you know, maybe we will if we shoot like that, which they will. But just a lot of respect. I think this is a hard job, man. Coaching's super hard. I respect him because he does it differently than a lot of other of the, you know, programs in the country in terms of style of play, which we kind of do too. So just respect, I think, across the board, and not just him. He's got a couple guys on his staff that I've known when I was in the NBA. So, man, it's just a really hard job, and so when you advance, I just have nothing but respect for the coaches that can get their teams to keep advancing in this tournament.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.